Welcome to episode 62 of Pinnacle FC. This is match day 4 in the Champions League. And as the kids say, in the Champions League, in terms of our picks and plays, we have been a wagon. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. Do you use that sort of terminology?
I've never heard that phrase before in my life. No.
Okay. Your picks have been straight fire. I don't know.
Oh, right.
How
Straight
would you
fire.
like to call it?
That's cool. Yeah. Been lit.
Anything else you want to add to the equation?
No. We have been on fire. I think we was it over nearly 10 units profit between us last round. So, yeah, this competition, given the restructure and how it was changed, it's definitely made it a little bit more interesting from a betting standpoint because you get so many more mismatches, but also so much more jeopardy, which means a lot more goals, as we saw last time around. I think on the Tuesday night there were over 45 goals in 8 matches.
It's crazy.
And
it
included the 0-0. Yeah.
It was basketball. That's what it was. It was wild. You mentioned just a better profit overall through 3 match weeks in the Champions League. I'm over 8 units of profit, and Jake is nearly 6 units of profit. So I feel like the domestic leagues, and you're talking to a lot of people that are on the markets, some real sharp bettors, Jake. And the domestic leagues have been very difficult over the course of the early stretch of the season. I just wonder if you have an explanation for that, because the Champions League, at least thus far, based on the structure and the setup and the matches, has been much more straightforward.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's quite a few people I've been speaking to that have found it difficult to make a profit earlier in the season, whether they're betting on props, whether they're betting on money lines, handicaps, etc. I think it obviously depends on league, but you have in the Premier League the golfing class has decreased quite considerably, so games are much more competitive, and it's making it more difficult to kind of pick your outright winners, pick your teams on the handicap. Whereas in other leagues like Serie A, La Liga, Liga 1, you've got such a disparity that it makes it hard as well, because the prices are so skewed. Real Madrid and Valencia, for prime example, Madrid are going off short, really, really short. Handicap lines at 2.5, and then it's, can you take the plunge on the big handicap? So yeah, it's been very difficult. Whereas at least in the Champions League, you get these mismatches where you know, right, these are a very good team, these are a very bad team, and I kind of trust them to cover a big handicap. Whereas, yeah, I guess in domestic leagues it's been a little bit more difficult to kind of trust and pull the trigger.
Well, I think based upon what we do and a lot of people do on for content and podcasts like this, you're trying to find the right number. And what we've seen, even over the course of this podcast, is the market is moving quick. Numbers are changing very fast from when they first come on, and we make our initial plays or have our initial feel. You give it not even 24 hours, and there's just been such dramatic change. So the markets are pretty sharp on this. So that's why we always recommend to try to get the best number as soon as you can. Because even for this week's episode, they moved quick. But we'll break this down when we have more time, perhaps on another midweek podcast. But for the Champions League, there's quick turnaround, so we want to give you our picks and plays as quick as possible. The one thing I wanted to mention about the Champions League, you mentioned the goals of the 18 games that were played in last Champions League match day 3. Only 5 of them went under the total of 2.5. So there's been a plenty of goals, and we'll see if that continues this week. Follow Pinnacle on X and follow the Pinnacle Sportsbook subreddit as well for your latest information, trends, just anything you need to know about the shifting markets. All the markets that we use for this podcast are courtesy of Pinnacle. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. And at the end of the podcast, we have 5 units to play with, and we can utilize those 5 units however we see fit. All right, let's start things off with the Tuesday fixtures. For me, Tuesday is where the games are at. That's where we can ride that wagon, Jake. Wednesday, there's a lot of games I'm just going to completely steer clear of entirely. But let's start with the Tuesday fixtures and what's catching your eye.
Let's start at the very top. The early kickoff, Slavia Prague versus Arsenal, and it's going to take No degrees to guess what I'm tipping here, which is Arsenal win to 0. It's minus 107. I think it's still more than a bettable number. I don't have to go into too much detail, but it's now 11 games this season out of 14 that Arsenal have won to 0, which is a remarkable tally. They've won 7 games to 0 in a row now. They've allowed just 0.6 expected goals across 14 matches. And yeah, they're going to Slavia. It's obviously, it's not a super easy place to visit, Prague, but Slavia have shown that they're not quite anywhere near this level, especially against the likes of Arsenal. They drew 2-2 in their opener against Bodo Glimt. They racked up 4 expected goals in that game. But since then, they've generated just 0.9 expected goals in 2 matches against Inter and Atalanta, 2 teams that are obviously much closer to the level of Arsenal. Failed to score in both of those. And against Inter, who I think are the team closest to Arsenal in terms of level, they managed just 3 shots in total and 0.1 expected goals. So could be another game in which Arsenal's defence is just extremely comfortable. Again, it's just a question of can they score. Gyökeres is not going to be playing, it seems like, so Mikel Merino might be leading the line, but even so, you've still got so much quality there with Bukayo Saka, Trossard, Eze, Nwaneri off the bench. Like, they should have enough. So minus 107. I'm debating whether it's going to be a 1.5 or a 2 unit play for me, but it's definitely going to be on my board.
It's a rare 2 unit play for me. This continues to cash. We're just putting it on our board every week. Inevitably, the bubble's going to be popped. And I just wonder what it's going to take. Like, only they and Inter haven't conceded in the Champions League. By far the best defensive record in the Premier League as well. It's not just that they're not conceding goals, they're not conceding chances. Like every game. And I've been fading Slavia Prague since day one in this competition, match day 1. I mean, I just, it's a team that has created some chances. They do have a 4.9 expected goals for those 3 games, which is about mid-table, just in terms of the XG table in the Champions League, but playing a juggernaut defensively like Arsenal. The thing is, like, a player goes down through injury, they've like 5 really capable center backs and a system that is just bullish and difficult. They're good on set pieces, both from an attacking perspective and a defensive perspective. At a time when so many more goals are being scored across European football, like they've just completely gone the other way. It's not just 1-0 to the Arsenal. It's just, you're not going to score against the Arsenal. So this is the play. I don't know how much more the markets can adjust or shift to this. Like, it's already at minus 107, but any time that it's close to even money, it was like that on the weekend against Burnley. It was an automatic bet. Same thing here. It's just, until something changes, like, this is the way to go. They've only conceded 2 goals all season. And 1 was at Newcastle. And 3, is it 3? 1 was at Newcastle. I remember that. 1 was at Man City.
And then the Szoboszlai free kick.
The show, yeah, Liverpool. Like, that's it. Like, this team just doesn't concede.
Remarkable.
So, yeah, two unit play for me.
Nice.
An appropriate place to start. It's funny, we're starting off on the play that we like the most, rather than like one of 2 marquee fixtures this week in the Champions League. You have Real Madrid, Liverpool, and you have PSG, Bayern Munich. I mean, those are both mouth-watering ties for a little bit different reasons, but really good. Do you want to start off with PSG, Bayern Munich? Because, I mean, these probably are the 2 best teams in European football. Like, Bayern Munich has been that proverbial wagon. Like, they're just, it's incredible what they're doing. No team is better than them across European football. And PSG have lost a ton of players through injury. Desiree Doui's the latest one. But they have players that can kind of step up in this Luis Enrique system, and they just continue to come away with impressive results, none better than what they've been able to do in the Champions League. Going to Leverkusen 7-2, they beat Barcelona with a depleted team, so this is just about as good as it gets in the Champions League. So let's start there. PSG, Bayern Munich. Any feel as to maybe what side you want to be on when it comes to this game?
I think price-wise, I want to be with PSG. It's not too long ago since they played in the Club World Cup, and PSG were actually the same price to win the game at a neutral venue as what they are now. And I don't think too much. Obviously, Bayern have probably got slightly better, but PSG with home advantage should be a little bit shorter to me. Bayern Munich they've just not been tested to this level yet, which is they've played 15 games. They've won all 15 games this season, but they haven't played anyone of the caliber of PSG. Whereas obviously, like you mentioned, PSG went to Barcelona, beat them with a very depleted team. They now welcome back quite a few of those starters that were missing. So should see Kvaratskhelia, we should see Ousmane Dembele, Fabian Ruiz, etc. So I would be leaning PSG. I would also be leaning the under, which might be unpopular, but 3.5 is a big goal line. And these two teams last season played in this competition. It was a 1-0. They played in the Club World Cup. It was a 2-0. I think that they are a very good match for each other, which means it's not going to be completely chaotic. I think both defences are probably better than what we give them credit for. And both midfields look to control and dictate. So I'd be leaning under, but no official play.
Well, I'm going to back Bayern Munich on the draw no bet, the zero handicap at plus 104. Getting Bayern Munich where you the insurance of if they don't win the game and you get it at a plus number. I know it's just plus 104, but that's just an automatic play for me right now. I know that what you say is they haven't played anyone, but it's more so who PSG are missing and how that affects them. I'll take a full strength Bayern Munich. They're not just beating teams, Jake. They're absolutely steamroll. Like there's no competition. Just the shots, the expected goals, the big chances created. It's simply one-way traffic. So I'll side with them versus a team in PSG that's still working Dembele back into the team, that still has some significant injuries and absences. Bayern Munich on a draw no bet right now it's too much of an opportunity that you simply can't turn down. So
don't fall into the trap. Everyone fell into the trap of PSG at Barcelona. They're depleted. They're not going to win. This team is better than the sum of the parts. Don't fall into the trap. And plus, they've got a pretty much full strength team anyway now.
But you don't think that Bayern Munich are? Like I understand, but the way that Bayern Munich are playing and how deep and how well put together this team is and the quality of football that they're playing, again, it's not just the results, it's how they're going about doing it. And they're not Barcelona. They're not going to be naive playing against PSG, playing such a high line that is completely erratic and out of control. Like under Vincent Kompany, I think that this team has actually taken another step. And for me, no one's better in European football right now than Bayern Munich.
I'd say Arsenal are the best in Europe at the moment, followed by Real Madrid and PSG, and then Bayern. Just because we've seen them tested. We've seen them against better teams. Bayern Munich play average teams every single week, and they make them look average, which is what you want to do. But
don't even make them look average. They make them look horrible.
Until they do it against one of the better teams, I'm not going to be jumping on board the bandwagon just yet.
Okay.
But I mentioned Real Madrid because I think that they're a bet on the draw no bet against Liverpool as well.
Me too.
It's even money. The price is shifting all the time. They opened up around plus 190 to win at Anfield. It's now plus 163. I think they're going to go off favourites at this rate because, I mean, let's be honest. This Real Madrid team, it's a perfect fusion of Alonso and Ancelotti because he's getting all his best players into the team and they're working at a functional system where he's getting what he wants basically, which is a bit of defensive protection and also a bit of license to go forward. So it looks like a really nice balance it's struck. And there's just so many goals in this team, isn't there? I mean, you look at the 4-3-3 with Tchouaméni, Bellingham and Gula as two floating eights, and then the front three that's just devastating. And then you've got Fede Valverde at right back, who's doing a great job there in the absence of Trent and Carvajal. And I think this is a very good Real Madrid team. I think if they carry on the trajectory that they are going, then I think that they could be the right in the mix to win this competition. Because I think, like I said, in terms of system and tactics, they are right up there. In terms of personnel, they've probably got the best squad in the entire competition.
Yes.
So, yeah. And Liverpool still question marks. And as I mentioned last week on the Thursday show, Thursday? Was it Wednesday or Thursday we recorded? But Liverpool played Aston Villa, and Aston Villa are not what we think they are. Their attacking numbers are pathetic. They're ranking around Burnley and West Ham in terms of expected goals. So to keep a clean sheet against Villa and look good against Villa is one thing. To play against this Real Madrid team with so much dynamism in midfield and attack is completely different.
Yes, I'm absolutely getting on the Real Madrid draw no bet play, but I think this is also an opportunity to maybe look at a little bit more. Both teams to score yes, and Real Madrid to win plays at plus 294. It's very difficult to back, Liverpool at Anfield in the Champions League failed to score in a game. But at the same time, I think that I'm getting on side with the better team. So that's a big number. Both teams to score, yes, and Real Madrid to win at plus 294. If you just want to look at the over 2.5, Real Madrid to win, and over 2.5 goals, if you think they could win 3-0 or something like that, you can get on with plus 242. But I prefer the other one. Both teams to score, yes, and Real Madrid to win. So just throwing that out there if you're looking for an alternative play with a little bit more juice when it comes to Anfield. Should be a brilliant Tuesday night, Liverpool and Real Madrid. Okay, anything else on Tuesday in the Champions League, Jake?
Yeah, from one Madrid team to another. Atletico, they're playing Union Saint-Gilloise, and we've just got to back them to cover the handicap. And again, this line is moving all the time. It was at -1.5, around -120. It's now -1.75 at -101. So get on that as soon as you can, because Union Saint-Gilloise, they've been absolutely thrashed the last two games they've played against Inter and Newcastle. 4-0 they were beaten in both after beating PSV. But even in that PSV game, they conceded over 2.5 expected goals. Defensively, they are all over the place. 3.2 expected goals conceded per game in this competition, the Belgian side. And Atletico, they're in a really interesting predicament where they've won one, lost two. The two defeats came against Liverpool and Arsenal away from home. The victory was a 5-1 demolishing of Frankfurt, which is another one of the EU Champions League's worst defensive teams. So they've shown that they can absolutely destroy teams. The interesting thing for me is that Atletico sit on a -1 goal difference after 3 matches, and given how tight the league table could finish, goal difference could be very important. So I think that they'll be looking to rack up another big win, get their goal difference up, just in case that helps them in any sorts of tiebreakers. And also it helped that they are just in good form. I think 4 of their 6 home wins this season have covered the handicap, and the last time they beat Sevilla the weekend 3-0, racked up 3.5 XG. So they're very, very nice and warm for this. -1.75 handicap. So we get a if they win by 2 goals, we get half a win. If they win by 3 goals, we get a full win. And I wouldn't be at all. I won't put anybody off backing higher lines as well, taking -2.5 at +198 for a 3-goal win. And then even higher again. So I think this could be that one-sided.
I know that Union Saint-Gilloise hasn't scored in their last 2 Champions League games, but they create a lot of chances. Like, they are a very attack-minded team. And I follow them a little bit more because there's a good young Canadian player there that I've been tracking. Like, even against Inter at home, they lost 4-0, 13 shots, 4 on target. Like, regularly, the output is very good just in terms of the attacking process. So I think it's worthwhile. Potentially, it's not going to make my official board, but I'd be tempted to have a nibble at both teams to score and Atletico Madrid win at +179, because like you said, Jake, they're all over the place defensively. It might come via a late goal, but I think that they're capable of scoring against an Atletico Madrid team, which isn't as good defensively as they were in recent years. I think they're a very accomplished attacking side, and I like Atletico Madrid team totals and all that stuff. But I think just to bank on the Atletico Madrid to win at home, I think that's a locked-in bet, and both teams to score, add that into the equation. I think it's worthwhile to stretch that out, maybe approach this in a little bit of a different way. So that's all I want to add. Seems like we've been looking at the same games thus far, because those were the games on Tuesday. Actually, one other game on Tuesday that I'm tracking a little bit. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, so you mentioned at the top of the show how goal-heavy the Champions League has been. So I thought that just take a different approach and find 2 or 3 games that I like for an over 2.5 goal treble or a parlay. So there's 2 from Tuesday and 1 from Wednesday. So I've got Bodo Glimt versus Monaco. Bodo, just an absolute goal machine at both ends of the pitch. Their games are averaging 4 goals per game. Monaco, they did draw 0-0 with Spurs last time out, but they were up to over 2.5 expected goals. Were really impressive in that one. Both these teams winless, so I think the onus is going to be on both to go out there and try and get a victory to pull themselves back into contention. Olympiakos PSV is another one. PSV are just mental. They beat Napoli 6-2 last game. Also had a 3-1 with Union Saint-Gilloise. Their games are averaging 4.7 goals. In the Eredivisie, they've scored. Their games have seen 51 goals in 11 games, which is just a ridiculous figure. They can't defend, but they are unstoppable going forward. And Olympiakos, again, they are desperate. They've not got a win on the board yet, and they're going to see this as a great opportunity against a PSV team that concede loads of goals. And then the last one I'm going to throw in a treble is on Wednesday, Ajax Galatasaray. Ajax just all over the place. Conceded 11 goals in 3 Champions League matches. Galatasaray, their games are averaging 3.7 goals and gone over in 2 of the 3. Again, both are going to see this as must-win. I know Galatasaray have got a win on the board already. Ajax haven't. And if they are to avoid or to even have a chance of finishing in that top 24, both of them are going to need to win. So the treble pays at plus 275 for over 2.5 goals. So I'm just going to take a little small bet on that as well as part of my staking plan.
A rare Pinnacle podcast parlay. Look at that. Approaching things in a very different way. My eyes on the total when it comes to Napoli and Eintracht Frankfurt, because this is a real test of the data versus the actual production versus the eye test. Because these are the 2 lowest teams, or the 2 worst teams through 3 match weeks in terms of expected goals, which is crazy because Eintracht Frankfurt's a very much an attacking side. And Napoli have scored some goals in the Champions League as well. So although they have the 2 worst expected goals, Napoli have 4 goals scored and 9 conceded, and Eintracht Frankfurt 7 and 11 conceded. Beyond that, Eintracht Frankfurt has the 2nd worst expected goal differential in the Champions League thus far, and Napoli's 31st. Like, these are things that are very bizarre. So Antonio Conte's side need to get it together in the Champions League, and Eintracht Frankfurt, the same story. So you look at where the total is set. These 2 teams that have been shipping goals for fun in this competition. The match total set at 3. Minus 103 if you back the over, minus 106 if you want to touch the under. Based upon the Champions League, the way that it's played out thus far, Frankfurt, the fact that they're allergic to defending, the fact that Napoli needs to put their foot down on the gas a little bit, I think back in the over at minus 103, I think you're getting some decent enough value there. Rasmus Højlund has come back from injury for Napoli as well to lead that line. I know that De Bruyne is out, but I just think based upon the fact that the game's being played in Napoli and Frankfurt simply can't defend, I think it's going to be the nature of it, both teams needing a result, that I think that things could open up nicely, and I think it could be a game of goals in a competition that simply brings the goals each and every match day as well. I don't know how you feel on that, because the data maybe contradicts the numbers to a certain degree with what these 2 sides have done thus far.
Yeah, it does, but at the same time, the context of where these 2 teams sit in the league standings has to be brought into the equation as well. Napoli 23rd, Frankfurt 22nd. They're both just on the out. They're on the precipice of that of missing out on the playoffs altogether. So they both desperately need a win. I was looking at Napoli's team total. Unfortunately, it's not priced yet on over 2.5. They've only got the over 1.5 up on Pinnacle. I'm sure they'll get it up close to kickoff. But yeah, I think Napoli's woes in this competition have come away from home. I think at home, I think they would be pretty trustworthy. So I'd be looking at maybe Napoli winning over 2.5 or Napoli winning both teams to score as well.
All right. That's all for Tuesday for me. How about you? Done with Tuesday?
Yeah, on to Wednesday.
All right, Wednesday. What's on your radar, I should say?
I'm trying to weigh up in my mind which one I want to put in my top 5. I like both Man City to win and both teams to score, and Barca to win and both teams to score. City playing Dortmund, Barca are playing Bruges. City's attacks look very good recently. Haaland obviously is just a bit of a freak, scoring every game against his former team. I think if you could get any odds on Pinnacle close to kick off for him to score or score the first goal, I'd be taking that. Dortmund have scored 4 goals in all 3 Champions League matches so far. 12 goals from 4.3 expected goals, so the biggest overperformance by a million miles. But I think that they can still breach Manchester City here. They've scored in every single game they've played this season, Dortmund, and Manchester City still look defensively vulnerable. I mean, we saw them at the weekend conceding good chances to Bournemouth and conceded a goal from a corner with Donnarumma flapping. So Man City winning both teams to scores plus 165, and I thought that was a nice way to get the home win of minus 238 boosted. And then same with Barca. They can't keep a clean sheet. Basically, nobody can stop their attack, but they can't keep clean sheets. 8 games without a clean sheet, 6 without a clean sheet away from home. And yeah, Bruges do have goals in them. I know you backed them to score at Bayern last round, but obviously Bayern are a better defensive team than this Barcelona side. And yeah, I think at home it's a different story. I think it's going to be a very tricky game actually for Barca. I wouldn't be surprised to see them just narrowly edge out a 2-1, something like that. I would be very tempted to take Bruges on the handicap, but I just thought trust Barca's attack to score at least 2 or 3 goals. And Brugge, I think, have enough on the counter-attack to cause some problems. So they're the two I'm going with on Wednesday. I think I probably would prefer the City game as probably one of my top 5, but we'll see. See if you sway me either way.
Okay, I'm kind of swerving both of those games, to be honest with you. I look at the Wednesday fixtures. There's not much that stands out to me. I get your rationale on both, but yeah, there's just nothing there, like just in terms of a number that I want to get into bed with and play with. The only game that I want to touch, and it's a completely square play, and the actual result and a number of the markets are off the board right now. It's Inter Milan facing Kairat Almaty. And this is as lopsided as it gets. Inter at home, just their strength and how good they are, playing against a team that, let's be honest, have no business being in the Champions League. The total shifted out from 3.25 to 3.5 at -104. I'm making that play. The total is set at 4.25 for this game. I mean, this could be 5, 6, 7. I can't see a scenario that you'd want to try to get onside with Kairat Almaty. Real Madrid went there to Kazakhstan in a difficult week and won by 5 and just toyed with them. This trip to Milan is just above their pay grade, above their quality, and 3.5 at -104. I still think that's good value, Jake. So yeah, it's a square play. It's boring, nothing sexy, but unless it moves a full other goal on the handicap, I'm probably going to get involved.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Kairat away are always, like I said, I think it was against Sporting on their opener. They're travelling from such a distance that it's no surprise that they always struggle. I think they've only scored 5 goals away from home in European competition. Inter are absolutely motoring at the moment, and like I said about previously with Atletico Madrid, goal difference could prove important. They're currently at +9. They've not conceded a goal yet. Win here, and you've got one foot in the top 8. Win handsomely, and then you could say 1.5. So I don't mind that at all. And Kairat have just been very poor.
The only other game I was looking at, but it's the Champions League, and I'm just wary of the total. But Atalanta, it's just like every game is the under. Every game is under 2.5. The goal line at Marseille, who's playing really well this year, is 2.75, 2.75 +105 for the under. That jumped off the page for me, but I mean, following the numbers, I think that's the play to make, is siding with the under, but based upon the way that the Champions League is played out, it just makes me a little bit nervous to make that play. That was the only other number that I remarked on.
Yeah, no, I definitely would be looking at the under. I think, like you said, it's just a normal thing now for Atalanta. They've completely flipped on their head. It's 6 games in a row where they've landed the under. They did beat Club Brugge 2-1 at home in the Champions League, but they are a very, very fine margin team. Atalanta drew with Slavia Prague last time out 0-0. And yeah, you look at the state of the table, and I know we don't want to get too carried away, but Atalanta are in a position where a draw away at Marseille is not a bad result in terms of them finishing between 9th and 24th, which is ultimately what they're going to be aiming for. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them keep this very, very close and play the old defensive frustration game.
Okay, that's all for me. Let's go to our best bets. Let's go to the board for our 5 units to use and to make hay with. What are you approaching? Where are you going this week?
I don't know.
Would you like me to go first? What do you think?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do a 2-unit play of Arsenal win to nil at Slavia Prague at -107. It's very rare for me, but I'm going to make that the case. I'm going to go a full unit, Inter to cover, 3.5 goals at -104 at home against Kairat Almaty. I'm going to make a full unit play on Bayern Munich, the draw no bet or zero handicap at +104. And I'm going to split up my Real Madrid plays into 2 half plays. Real Madrid, the draw no bet or zero handicap at even money. But I'm going to sprinkle in the Real Madrid to win at Anfield over Liverpool, combined with a both teams to score at +294. That's my board this week. Jake, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to go also win to nil, 2 units as well, -107. So you know that Slavia Prague are going to win. We're both on it. Atletico Madrid -1 3/4 on the handicap against Union Saint-Gilloise -101. I'm doing 1.5 units on that one. I'm going to do a full unit on Man City win and both teams to score against Dortmund at +165. And I'm going to do a half unit on my over 2.5 goal treble. See how we get on with that. Bodo Glimt versus Monaco, Olympiakos versus PSV, Ajax versus Galatasaray pays at +275.
Brilliant. Lot of juice on Jake Osgathorpe's plays this week. I mean, he's eyeing to take the lead in the Pinnacle FC table in terms of our Champions League profit. All right, continue to spread the word, subscribe to this podcast, and make sure you hit the like button as well. All of that helps out as we continue to grow this out. The response has been great. Get involved in the comments. We appreciate you. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening, and we'll continue to do our best. And we'll be back midweek for a look ahead to the European domestic leagues as well. On behalf of Jake, I am Wheels, and this has been episode 62 of Pinnacle FC.